1985, the government formed the National Cereals and Produce Board in a bid to help farmers with drying as well as storage facilities. Of course, over the years, this mandate has been executed with some challenges along the way, and the government has instituted reforms at the board in a bid to respond to the challenges that are facing farmers today. How is this reform agenda coming along? Tonight on Inside Government, we are talking to the chairperson of the National Cereals and Produce Board, Mutea Iringo. Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us here. For almost 2.5 years now you have been at the board. When you do a SWOT analysis of the National Cereals and Produce Board, what conclusions do you make?
Yeah, thank you very much, O'Brien, for inviting me to shed light on this aspect. I found the board in 2018. I found the board in a very bad state. At this particular time, there was the issue of irregular purchase of strategic food reserves food, and following the purge that ensued, the MD resigned, so the organization had no head to steer the activities. So as a chairman, and with several members of with a newly reconstituted board of directors, we embarked on a reform agenda to steer the organization back on course. We started by recruiting the MD and 4 senior managers to assist in reorganizing the board, and this team has done a lot since, because immediately after they were recruited, they engaged in a competitive process to recruit managers under them who had acted in the board for over 10 years without being confirmed. And from that time, we have been on reforms until late last year, when the cabinet also recommended further reforms, which I will enumerate shortly.
Before we actually talk about the reforms that have been instituted at the board, I first of all want to find out, if you study the history of the board, since 1985, it has been rocked by various issues, from fictitious claims, to illegal procurement of goods and all these. How has these impacted the smooth operations of the board and, of course, the implementation of the board's mandate?
Of course, the continued, or rather the persistent corruption and scandals that bedeviled the organization have impacted on the agricultural sector and negatively so on food security. This is one of the issues that we addressed as a matter of priority, and I would like to say that following the reforms that we have instituted, the streamlining of the management, and particularly bringing in professional managers from outside to manage the organization, the last buying of strategic food reserves and the selling had not a single case of corruption or controversy.
Immediately when you came on board, there were issues of illegal payment and allocation of national strategic food, to people. Would you confirm whether this was the case? If yes, what steps have you taken to ensure that cases like these do not appear or do not reoccur again at the board?
Yeah. Yes, indeed, there were irregularities which were occasioned, and consequently, the farmer who the government was targeting to benefit was not benefiting. We had a few individuals who were supplying maize worth even half a billion, or a few billions, or even half a billion or 500 million shillings. And that was not the target. The target was a small farmer. So we really lost direction. And it's at that point that we came in. We came up with policies to guide the management. And since that time, we've enacted, as the board of directors, we have come up with about 18 policies covering various areas, particularly financial, the leasing policy, so that the procedures, the standard operating procedures are followed strictly to ensure efficient and effective management of the organization. Mm-hmm. From that time, things have changed, and we've been able to clear all the debts that we owe the various suppliers, and actually the confidence is back mm-hmm. on the part of the staff and even the people, the stakeholders that we serve.
You see, when the board was being formed back in 1985, the desire was, first of all, to help farmers with drying and storage facilities. Of course, over the years, because of corruption and persistent wrangles at the board, other private players, have come on board, to play the role that NCPB was set up. And so the question that is permeating through many quarters today is this: do we still need to have NCPB in this country?
Indeed, yes. NCPB plays a very critical role in food security, right from the planting. From the time the farmer is planting, NCPB currently has positioned itself to ensure that the farmer is assisted to produce as much and gain from the proceeds of the production. First, we have availed fertilizers during the planting season, subsidized fertilizers, and of course, shortly we'll be participating in the e-voucher system, because the government will not be in the business of buying and then distributing to farmers. They will give the identified vulnerable farmers vouchers where they can go to any shop. They pay 60%, and the shopkeeper or the wholesaler claims the 40% from government. This is the so-called e-voucher system that is about to take root. Mm-hmm. We, apart from the fertilizers, we also have Afrasif that is applied to crops, particularly maize, to avoid the challenge of aflatoxin, to ensure food safety. In addition, we offer drying services, because when farmers are harvesting while their rains, they get major challenges and they are not able to dry properly. Hence, the problem of aflatoxin.
The former president, Mwai Kibaki, directed the Ministry of Agriculture to avail funds to the National Cereals and Produce Board so that it could increase its presence and its footprint in many parts of the country. Back then, there was such a serious debilitating drought that the country was going through, and people were suffering. Have we managed to do this yet, and why has it taken us all this long before we can start, before NCPB can start, establishing its network in many parts of the country?
Of course, we have an elaborate infrastructure in all the 47 counties. We have about 110 depots, but currently we have gone out of our way to collaborate, to create partnerships with the county governments so that we can establish collection centers deeper in the rural areas, mm-hmm. so that the farmer is able to access the facilities much more easily. Mm-hmm.
So going forward, what do you plan to do as a board to ensure, number one, your services have been taken closer to the people who need these, and these are farmers, and number two, to ensure that the services that you offer are competitive enough for farmers to access them?
What we've done currently, of course, this will serve the trading division. There are two divisions in the board. Mm-hmm. following the implementation of the reforms that were recommended last year by government. The trading division will do normal trading activities for commercial purposes. Yeah, because NCPB is not supported by the Treasury in terms of funding. We generate our own funds to run our activities.
One of the other challenges that you have been facing as a board is that your aging infrastructure. How do you plan to ensure that you revitalize the infrastructure that exists? Of course, this will come at a significant cost.
Yeah, it is true that the infrastructure is old. We are doing it piecemeal, but we are engaging government to provide funding. We have estimated about 1.8 billion to do to refurbish all the infrastructure. Some as old as 50 years since independence, and they require major, some actually require total replacement as refurbishment. The money that we expect to do this is, of course, tied up in debts which are owed, which are owed by government agencies, the Ministry of Agriculture, of course, through the food subsidy. Yeah, we also have the Ministry of Devolution, which owes us quite a bit of money, and a few parastatals like AFC, AFA, which was quite a bit. Plans are underway. We have made arrangements through the ministry. The cabinet secretary and the principal secretary are pursuing this matter. We want to have a tripartite meeting with the ministry, Serious Board, Treasury, and of course KCB on the KCB loan. We have a loan that is really hampering our operations. We are not able to access credit facilities to do viable commercial trading, because this loan, which was taken several years back, about 4 billion, was not repaid, and now has risen to about 7 billion.
Yeah, because of interest.
Yeah, the interest currently is 3 million per day, 110 million per month, and this is really unsustainable.
We'll discuss the issue of the KCB loan, and of course, the jury is still out on the merits and demerits of that loan. Questions have been thrown around as to where the NCPB really needed that loan. But I'll be coming back to that. But tell me this, government institutions and government agencies, as well as ministries, they owe NCPB quite a significant amount of money. At the same time, you also owe farmers, money that you have not paid them. How much is owed to you as debt vis-a-vis? How much do you owe to farmers?
I think recently in around December last year, through the intervention of the head of civil service and our cabinet secretary, we were able to access funds, and actually we paid all the debts that we owed to farmers, except about 539 million that has not been cleared by the EACC. So on that aspect, we have paid them everything, unlike in the past, where we owed the transporters, farmers a lot of money. To that extent, we are clean on the external debtors.
So apart from the 536
So what we need critically is money to facilitate us to be able to move. We are owed
how much money is owed to you?
Over 15 billion.
Over 15 billion shillings.
Yeah, yes.
Who owes you the most?
Of course, this 15 billion includes the 7 billion that is owed to KCB. Yeah, so we consider that as part of our debt, because we used our properties, NCPB properties, as collateral security, as collateral. Yeah, the ministry owes us several billions in terms of unrefunded subsidy. Subsidy is, of course, when we imported maize, the maize was say 3,000 shillings, and we ended up selling it at 2,000, because the aim, of course, is to make sure the food in the country the food prices are kept low.
Is there a clear path as to how you're going to deal with these loan that has really made the institution credit unworthy?
We cannot deal with this matter at the level of NCPB alone. So we've asked our Cabinet Secretary to liaise with his counterpart in Treasury so that we meet and see how best to resolve. Of course, much of the solution lies in Treasury and the Ministry. Yes.
How, as the chairman of the board, what recommendations have you made to the National Treasury as well as to the Ministry of Agriculture to help deal with these issue of KCB loan?
Of course, through the ministry, they can factor funding through the budget to be able to pay off the loan, and of course, by engaging the bank, it would be possible to consider reduction of the interest rate that has accrued, amounting to over 3 billion. Yeah, I think that is what we are doing. Yeah.
You are talking about NCPB paying about 3 million shillings on a daily basis, on that loan.
Yes.
Which translates to about 270 million shillings per month. 210?
110 million per month.
Per month.
Yeah.
How is this impacting on your financial operations?
Yeah, of course it is. As I pointed out, is one of the biggest challenges because we are not able to get bank guarantees. You have to, whatever you're operating, you have to use cash, which is not possible. So really, we are not able to operate at optimum as expected to be able to fulfill the Big Four agenda.
What functions of the board have been severely impacted by that loan?
Particularly the commercial trading. You need a lot of money to be able to do that. And recently, the government gave us release some funding, which we utilize to clear all the debtors, the external debtors, transporters, the farmers, and all that. But we really need a substantial amount to be able to do market operations. We are in the business of buying not the traditional maize, as people know. We buy maize, beans, green grams. Yeah, we are diversifying.
You have extended your portfolio.
Passes and this way, we are able to assist farmers in marketing their produce, and then we are able to later market to. We can even export, and of course utilize the internal market, which is not satisfied. So we are badly, in fact, impacted on the commercial trading division. Yeah.
Let's for a moment imagine an NCPB that is debt free. The NCPB, the KCB loan has been cleared. The 536 million shillings owed to people, even though the issue is being contested, has been cleared, and you have 1.8 billion shillings from the National Treasury, to modernize your systems and infrastructure. How different would NCPB be?
Really, it will be completely a different organization in the manner in which it serves the customers, especially the farmer. Of course, without accumulating debts. When you deliver your produce, you are paid. The machines will also be very efficient. The drying facility, the dryers, the conveyor belts. So there will be no queues in the selling when we are buying the produce. And definitely, the farmer would definitely boost the production, hence securing the country in terms of food.
If we ban the imports of maize from Tanzania and Uganda, do we have enough stocks in our granaries, to support the consumption demand?
Well, I think the concern here is not really how much we get into the country, but the safety of the food that gets into the country. This is under the purview, this is the work of CAPES and other related agencies we should monitor that right at the border. But I must say that really we must be concerned about the food that we consume. And for that reason, we at our level in Serious Board, we have procured sufficient machines to test aflatoxin for the maize that we buy to ensure that it is safe. We have also established labs in several depots across the country to monitor, to ensure that the food is safe. How much we import is not as important as how safe is the imports.
But do we have enough storage capacities and drying capacity in this country? You know, if all farmers or majority of our farmers, you know, want to say, okay, now from now going forward, we'll be taking our maize to NCPB. Do you have the capacity to handle this?
We have the capacity. We have the capacity, and of course, we are introducing the warehouse receipting system, a system where the farmer brings his crops to a certified store. These are highly modernized stores which are certified by AFA to store food. And of course, once the food is taken in at the warehouse, under the warehouse receipting system, you are given a receipt which you can use as collateral. And of course, you are able to sell the food when the prices go up.
And there has also been questions about the slow uptake of the WSR system. I know there's a committee that is looking into this issue and how to fasten the process. How are you engaging farmers to ensure that they embrace the new mode of doing business?
Of course, there's a bit of conservatism because the idea is new. AFA has not completed the process of certifying the stores, and I think we are at the inception stage. And I'm sure with the continued sensitization, the uptake will be greater the next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you gone into trials with have you put the system in trial with probably maybe a section of farmers, and what is it telling you, and what are the bottlenecks?
We in a few of our stores, I think we are ready, and we are ready to take in the products. But as you see, this exercise is timed, or rather depends on when the farmers are harvesting. That is when the need will arise. Mm-hmm. So we'll be testing as the farmers harvest in the next season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about also the Food Balance Committee. Is it in place yet?
The Food Balance Sheet Committee, yes, it has been established. It's a multi-sectoral committee that will be monitoring the food situation in the country. If the food stocks are going down, they will advise the government when to import and how much to import. And of course, they will also be looking at how much we need to keep as a strategic food reserve.
And because NCPB, is a player in that committee, is also a strategic player, in the food situation in this country. When the committee looks at the food situation in the country, what report are they getting?
You are talking of the current situation?
Yes.
Of course, there are projections. We did not do very well this time because of the locust, and then there was crop failure following a deficiency in rains in parts of this country. And I'm sure the government is watching and, of course, monitoring the situation to see at what point to intervene in terms of imports. This will also depend on how much we get from the current harvest, although there are projections. Yeah.
And last year, we saw the president directing NCPB to purchase maize from farmers at a minimum price of 2,500.
Indeed.
How have farmers responded to these, and have you seen a major increase in terms of stock?
Yeah, of course. At the time that the directive was issued, farmers were getting about 2,200 from from merchants out there. And when we came in and started buying at 2,500, the merchants were forced to, and millers were forced to increase the price to about 2,700 or thereabouts. So whenever we intervene in the market, we stabilize the prices, and of course, the farmer ends up benefiting more. The response has been very good. Yeah.
How much maize have you, or food have you managed to buy since?
So far, we have bought over 500,000 bags. We are going to 600,000, and we are still continuing. Yeah.
Do we have an idea of how many more bags are still being withheld by farmers?
Of course, when we go out there to buy, our aim is not to completely buy everything out there. We would like quite a bit to remain with the farmers because they need it for day-to-day operations. So ours is only to intervene at a strategic level to ensure that there isn't too much out there with the farmers, and of course, especially when they require the outlet to market their produce.
What reforms are you undertaking at the board? Number one, to restore the confidence of your client, and number two, to ensure that you play your mandate effectively.
Oh yeah. Currently, we are able to pay the farmers within 2 days, yeah? And that alone speaks a lot, and of course wins the farmers' confidence. In addition, we have established hubs in our depots where farmers are able to access agricultural inputs very easily. In these hubs, we have partnered with companies that produce fertilizers, seeds, and other cooperant factors of production to avail the items in these hubs so that the farmer is able to access them easily. We've signed an agency agreement. We just get a small commission because the aim is really to avail these services to the farmer. That way, we've been able to adhere ourselves, or rather our services to the farmers, and we are realizing a lot of support. We are also engaging them continuously during field days, and also outreach programs to ensure that we understand their problem and they also understand us and see how best to assist each other.
Maize Iringo, thank you very much for finding time to be with us this evening.
My pleasure, and I look forward to coming back to answer whatever issues that
Very well. Well, Maize Iringo is the chairperson of the National Cereals and Produce Board, joining us tonight to discuss more about the reforms being undertaken at the board as well as the future of the food security in this country. You have heard it from him. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you for your time. We'll see you again on Thursday right here on KBC Channel 1. Have a good night.